Okay, I'm at 3306 Greenway Avenue doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. The access point on this one is an outside clean out. It's an MSD clean out, meaning it's the Metropolitan Sewer District has installed this clean out here. There's the sidewalk, there's the street, and so it's this metal plate there that goes on top of it, and it has a cap, and there's a little floater that's a monitoring float that allows them to check to see how high the water level's gotten coming out of the sewer main. Usually means that the lines are combined, meaning that the storm water and the sanitary water, or the stuff that comes out of your bathrooms and stuff, is all combined. And so sometimes they monitor that to make sure that the line is not being overloaded, or if it is, they can try to remedy it. So I'm going to try to go both directions on this one. And first we're going to try to go upstream. The good thing about these cleanouts too is that they are two-way. So a lot of times you can get them to go both directions. The problem with this one is that it's like 10 feet deep, and so I think I think I'm heading upstream. So looks like we have concrete is the material that the line is made out of. It's not uncommon, but a lot of times clay is a lot more common in these areas. So you can see the exposed aggregate, or the rock, where the water has been washing away a little bit of it just to expose some of that rock. Just like on a sidewalk or something like that, the older it gets, the more rock is exposed. Concrete is a pretty good material though. It's obviously pretty tough. Now it looks like we are changing into clay. So, not a bad thing, but that usually means that that's where they put concrete in out in the street and up in the and then brought it up into the property, and then coming out of the house to this point, or to that previous point there, it was clay. You see a small crack here. That's nothing to be worried about. It's probably been there for ages. It's just something to note. The line is obviously held shape, so sometimes you have stuff like this where it looks like some mineral deposits here getting in. It could actually be when they put the line in that some of the stuff kind of seeped through. But it's not obstructing flow. And then sometimes you'll come up to this when you're going backwards. So going forward or downstream, if you're coming from the house, this would be straight downhill, and so this would be fine. But as we're pushing backwards up it, sometimes it makes it tougher to get my camera through, but I think it'll be fine because it also reduces what looks like into, this is 6-inch exterior, the pipe on the exterior is 6-inch pipe, and this going in is probably 4. Yes, it'd be 4-inch cast iron, and you could see I was able to, because of the angle, jump straight into this. And so we can take a look at the interior line also from here, which is again cast iron. Cast iron is a rough material to gauge life expectancy just because of the nature of the material. It is obviously, it rusts, and so you're looking for any visible holes or damage to the line, but you really have no way of knowing without visible damage what the life expectancy is, or how much longer it is, because you can't see how thick or thin the line is. The stuff that's above ground, obviously you can see very well, and you can kind of tell from the outside a lot of times what kind of condition it's in. But when you can strictly see the inside, you're basically just looking to make sure that it's functioning properly. And so in this area, it looks like everything is great. It's kept its shape pretty well. But you always have, rust is always very ugly, obviously, and so it doesn't look great. But we have made it all the way back to the vertical stack, meaning that it is the farthest upstream we could get. So we're going to try to take our time on the way back, and we'll try to take a look at this. You can see right above how it looks jagged. I believe that's an opening. Apologize for that. That was a garbage truck going by here. We're sitting right out on the sidewalk. But I don't see any visible holes or anything like that. But again, sometimes even if you have a backup on this, you can get sometimes even cleaning it. If you ever have to have a plumber come in and clean it, sometimes it can look fine beforehand, and you really got to watch when you don't know how thick the line is. Having it cleaned, they could put holes in it from doing maintenance on it. But in this case, this line actually looks really good for its age. Like I said before, you can see the flow line where the white is, and that's grease coming down from the sink and possibly from the laundry. You have grease and a lot of fabric softeners or oils that kind of look like this, and so you can see where the flow line gets up to. But one more thing I do want to note about cast iron is I always recommend that people don't use any wet wipes on any sewers, but it's a much bigger problem on cast iron just because those things can catch on the root or on the rust, and when they do, they don't break down like toilet paper. And so what you'll have is, because the toilet paper disintegrates, it's designed to, after being in the water so long, and those wet wipes do not. You can run both of them underwater and test that, but if they catch on something, they can sit in that line and just cause other things to build up behind them. So you never want to use the wet wipes in general, but it's a much bigger thing to make sure of when you have cast iron. If you're going to use them, just throw them in the trash. But so you can see that black stuff off to the left. That is just a connection coming in from another branch. We're not able to go up to those. They don't make a camera that you can direct up separate lines just yet. And so we are stuck in this is the main line. Every line in the house comes to this one and exits the house to get as one line. And so I'm actually really happy with the condition of this. I mean, if you can see right here, that is a Y for a clean out. That is right before it exits the house. There's a clean out in the floor. It might be covered up. If the basement is finished, it might be clean. It might be covered up by carpet or something like that on the basement floor. But the line looked really good. It's a little bit of mineral deposit there, but I didn't see any structural issues. So now we're going to pull out here, and then we're going to turn around and go out towards the street. Now when we go downstream, anything downstream is, if there are any structural issues, will be the responsibility of the sewer district. And it's really easy to tell because this clean out outside, with their marking on it, is the demarcation line between the, private property or the homeowner's property and the sewer department's property. So you can see that was just an ugly connection. It's not causing any issues. And then we are coming up into the clean out that they installed. And now we're going to go downstream. Go. Just to note, that camera is only about a half an inch off the bottom of the pipe, so that little bit of water is not a concern. And it's normal where they put that clean out in for it to sink just a little bit, and that's probably what happened. Just that little bit of extra weight. But again, anything out here is off the property and not the responsibility of the homeowner. It's a little mineral deposit or something. Okay, there we are. And so we are already out at the main. We're staring into the sewer main. So hopefully as we pull back we'll see a little more, but this area obviously is not a big concern because this is all owned by the sewer department, and so we want to make sure we kind of get a look at it. And there's that spot there where it's about 32 feet in from that is just a reference number on the thing. So I think what I'm going to do, actually, just so I can double check that spot and get a good image of it, I'm going to pull the camera out. I'm going to put a standoff on it. I'm going to go downstream, see if I can get that spot, get a better look at it. And so as you can see, came back out. So I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to put a standoff on the camera, and then we're going to go back downstream and double check that spot. Okay, so we've got that standoff on there. Try to clean the camera head off a little bit so we can see. There we go. And we're going to go back down through here. Go. You can see it's up off the bottom a little bit. That should keep it above that water level, which it is. Like I said, that's not a concern. That water, that little belly is not causing any kind of backup or anything. Of course, that concrete is rough. That's why that camera's jumping so much. It'll be right in the next connection or so. Is where that line is, and we just want to look to see what this is. Yeah, this just looks like calcium deposits and stuff getting in, or it could be the concrete where they made the connection, seeping in through that line. I'm going to try to rinse that off again. As you can see, it's hard as a rock. I've hit it with the camera. It's not even leaving a mark in it. So that's either calcite or it is something seeping in from where they made the connection, some form of that mortar that they use to make the connections on the concrete pipes. So, good news is, it's not in the flow line. So, no real defects here on this line. I'm going to go ahead and pull back. No defects. A couple things of note, but not really much, and that's mainly just the pipe material itself. That the cast iron, just kind of make sure that you're being aware of what you're putting down the pipe because of that cast iron. And then a couple spots with some calcite. buildup that is very, very minimal. And so that was like, what, 32 feet downstream and about 40 feet upstream. And so we'll note that on here. But the line itself looked great structurally. And so no real major things to note. The line's functioning properly at time of inspection. And so that'll end the inspection at 3306 Greenway Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio.